Coalition of Nigerian professionals and political figures has petitioned the African Union over the recent declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State. The group said suspending Governor Siminalayi Fubara and the State House of Assembly was unconstitutional. In a letter addressed to the AU Commission Chairperson Alhaji Mahmood Ali Yusuf, the coalition argued that the move not only violated Nigeria's constitution, but also posed a threat to democracy across Africa. The petition, signed by Professor Senator Opeyemi Ola, Professor Ada George, Right Honorable Dr. James Oloko, and Dr. Mrs. Evelyn E. Ogolime, urged the African Union to take decisive action against what they described as an abuse of power. It said, with President Tinubu as the chairman of ECOWAS, Nigeria is expected to be a shining example of democratic governance in Africa. His decision to suspend the democratically elected governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara, and the State House of Assembly is a clear violation of the Constitution and an affront to democratic principles, the petition reads. The Section 305 of the Constitution, which the President cited as the basis for his action, does not grant him the power to suspend or remove elected officials. The Constitution is clear on the grounds for removing a governor, which is explicitly stated in Section 188. The President's action is a blatant disregard for the Constitution and the democratic process. This action is not only a threat to democracy in Nigeria, but also sets a dangerous precedent for the suppression of democratic institutions and the rule of law in Africa. It is imperative that the African Union Commission takes immediate action to address this situation and ensure that democratic principles are upheld, they stated. Additionally, the coalition highlighted the broader implications of the President's action, stating that it threatened the autonomy of states under Nigeria's federal system. The group called on African Union to send a fact-finding mission to Rivers State to assess the situation and ensure democratic institutions were protected. Ndamzi, what do you make of this story?
Yes, thank you very much. In as much as we are applauding the group for taking further steps to ensuring democracy is entrenched in our system. We will also ask a pertinent question. Where have this group of persons been all this while when the crisis in Rivers State were brewing? Because from what is posited in that letter addressed to the AU, you can see how they neatly outlined democratic principles and how, if our constitution is being upheld, you know, democracy will be entrenched and all that. But didn't this group of persons, you know, weren't they aware when the governor of Rivers State demolished an arm of government? This is a rhetoric question. Did they make a statement condemning the demolition of an arm of government, irrespective of what has happened, even though there were legislative and executive disagreements? It is democracy. The legislature and the executive mustn't have a smooth running relationship at all times. These two arms of government at most times disagrees on policies, on issues of government. And there are also mechanisms, conflict resolution mechanisms that could bring peace and harmony in running a government. That's why we have the judiciary. Should in case ADR fails, we have the judiciary to run to make a pronouncement. Even though of late we are seeing conflicting pronouncements, we are seeing pronouncement that is capable of setting the country ablaze. Nigeria, it's some process, and we believe that at some point we will get it right. Going back to our discourse, these leaders who are now running to AU, as far as I'm concerned, they are running outside jurisdiction. AU does not possess the powers to bring Governor Fubara back. AU can only beckon on the president. Say, look, Mr. President, your people ran to us. Can you please? It has to be the discretion of the president. Section 305 gave him that powers and discretion.
But Section 305 does not also give him the power to suspend an elected governor, does it?
Yes, looking at Section 305, the section never says the president have the powers to suspend the governor, the deputy, and the elected House of Assembly member. This section never gave the president that powers.
All right.
It is at this point a judicial concern. The affected parties should approach the court. It is on the discretion of the court to say otherwise. But looking at the provisions of Section 305, the president does not possess the powers to suspend. But the president have acted timely. Don't forget, he has intervened in this matter before and parties did what they did. So he has, in his own wisdom, declared emergency in the state and has further steps, it took further steps by suspending these warring parties. So it behoves on the parties that are affected now to approach the court to interpret Section 305 of the 1999 Constitution.
All right. Now, you have raised certain concerns while you were touching this topic. Now, first of all, we have established the fact you are a legal practitioner, and you said according to the Constitution, you know, the 305, that the president derived his powers to declare state of emergency. That section does not in any way empower the president to suspend an elected governor, correct?
That's true.
Okay, very well. And then you are also saying that something necessitated the state of emergency. Now, I want to actually go deeper in this conversation. Now, if the president had declared state of emergency with the governor still wielding executive powers, do you see that situation bringing peace to Rivers State?
Yes, thank you. In 2013, President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan declared state of emergency in Yobe, Borno, and one other state I may not remember at the moment. He did not suspend the governor and the elected officials. The governor were still there, but his economic powers were stripped. The governor's economic powers were stripped, security stripped, but he never vacated his office. Don't forget, the elected officials are in an electoral contract with the people. They made an electoral contract with the people. They took an oath of office. Nothing stops that oath of office until that term certain as provided by the Constitution. So in my own view, this is my own personal opinion anyway, as a lawyer, that the president do not have powers under the Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria to suspend an elected governor or a House of Assembly that is elected by the people. But you
still didn't answer my question, Damsi. The question I asked you was, if the state of emergency still had the governor and the House of Assembly still functional, I mean their powers not stripped, do you think that normalcy or peace would have returned to Rivers State?
See, what we think or feel doesn't concern the law. The law is right, and that is the way it is. Without the law, we will have an anarchical society. People will begin to behave like animals. That is why right-thinking men in the society of the past deemed it fit for us to have a set of rules and regulations on how society can be managed. Okay? So, the state of emergency has been declared in Rivers State. If it were the opposite, like you asked, it's simple. Let's take a scenario of 2013. 2013, the one declared by President Ebele Jonathan. the governors were stripped of economic powers, they were stripped of security. At that point, they couldn't do much. If you strip a governor of a state, his or her economic powers, access to the resources of the state, he can do much. He can wield more influence. So
access to federal allocation.
Federal allocation.
Not the IGR in the
yes,
state.
he can do much.
River State, do you know how much River State generates with IGR?
Even though the figures are conflicting.
Even though the figures
are conflicting.
You cannot
we know
take
that
away the fact that River State, the IGR from River State can, to a large extent, sustain River State to some extent.
No, for real, we are not disputing that. The
So
River State IGR is
stripping
fact.
of economic powers, not so much of consequences. You could be talking of security, right? There is a reason why Rivers governors over the years have been powerful.
Because of
River
the
State
resources.
governors, one would
Because
say,
of the robust
are one
resources.
of the most powerful governors in
Of
Nigeria.
course, the resources there are robust, no doubt. Okay, but what we are saying is the declaration has to be in confine with the tenets of the Constitution.
Right.
Okay, considering the president is a Democrat, okay, and we are running a democratic society. So, in my opinion, like I opined when it happened, I opined that the president should take necessary steps to reverse the declaration and do it properly. There is nothing wrong in owning up a mistake. Everybody makes mistakes. That's why we are humans. Okay, without mistakes, I don't think we will get better. So there is nothing wrong in the president returning them back to sit and still allow the emergency rule apply. At that point, the service commanders will be in charge. Okay, that's what President Goodluck replicated in 2013. And I believe it's in line with the Constitution, unless tomorrow we review that section of the Constitution. But as of today, as it is, the president does not possess the powers to do that.
Now, looking at the composition of the persons that signed this petition to African Union, Professor Ada George is one of them. Professor Ada George is from River State. And one would say during this crisis, from the beginning of the crisis, even up to the time it escalated up until now, do you recall any time Professor Ada George took a stand against undemocratic rule in River State? Did you ever hear him? Because I'm asking these questions because you raised in your opening statement, you said these persons, in fact, practically most of the persons who are crying foul right now, when Governor Similaye Fubara said with his mouth that he has recognized the River State House of Assembly. In fact, I'm quoting him, he said, I gave them a floating. They exist because I allowed them to exist, right? And when he made that statement, to a large extent, he was being applauded. He was applauded by state actors, he was applauded by political actors, he was applauded by a lot of Nigerians. So now I am wondering why it's okay for a sitting governor to disrespect the judiciary, disrespect court judgments, you know, go against the Constitution, and it is applauded. And on the other hand, the same persons are crying foul when there are consequences to the actions of unconstitutionality by a sitting governor. While I make no case in any way for the president and suspending a sitting governor, I am also looking at the foundation of this crisis. I'm looking at the catalyst to that decision.
Okay. I began by asking a rhetorical question that where were these persons from the onset when 1 month after the governor attempted to impeach an elected speaker? Okay, that is the foundation of the crisis in the state.
But the story has always been that the speaker tried to impeach the governor. That was
no. The reverse is the case. When that attempt failed, for fear of further attempt, he demolished the House of Assembly. We are all in this state. So my question, the rhetoric question I asked before is, where were these persons now condemning the undemocratic move of the president when there was serious constitutional infraction by the governor by pulling down a House of Assembly? By, in the words of the Supreme Court described him as a despot. So what we are trying to say is, people should be honest in their call. Okay, irrespective of who is involved, irrespective of sentiment, political affiliation, tribe, or social relationship, we should be honest at all times. When these constitutional infractions happened, all the who is who in Nigeria never condemned it. Everybody kept mute, kept silent. But now, the Supreme Court said otherwise, and we are where we are today. Everybody is condemning what the president have done, including those who have applauded it before. The high level of hypocrisy is unaccepted at this stage. We must look at what the law says and follow what the law says. Anything outside that is non-negotiable at this stage.
All right, very well.